We're going to create a weaving, and weaving will turn into a pouch. This is called your loom, and the loom is where you create your warp. The strings go up and down, and then you'll be ready to weave left and right and make your weft. So let's start by making our warp. These teeth are where the strings go when you go around, but for our pouch, because the string is thin, these teeth are too far apart. So we're going to cut these teeth in half so that we can have more warps, and that way it'll make it a little bit tighter and thinner and things won't fall through your pouch. So take a pair of scissors and cut in between, right in the middle of these teeth. You just need to make a cut up to where the other teeth so that it's even. So you're going to make a small cut. It helps if you open your scissors up all the way. Get down to the bottom, the base of your scissors. A little bit stronger down there. Cut the teeth on both ends. Okay, the next thing you're going to need is the string for the warp. Remember, the warp, just like a harp, has strings that go up and down. So you're going to use this thin string. I have black and white that you can use. You need to tape it onto the board close to one of the teeth. If you're going to start up here, then, well, actually, let's start down here. Just tape it down here close to the end. Grab a piece of tape, tape it on, make sure that it's nice and tight so it's not going to fall out easily. And then you're going to start wrapping it around. I'm going to turn it over, so this is going to be the back of it. So we're going to put it in that first tooth, go up and make sure you're matching on the first tooth. Come down, and now you're in that big gap that was originally there. That's our second tooth. Go up to your second tooth. So continue to wrap the board with your string. I'm not pulling super tight, but I'm also not leaving loose. I want to be able to get under these strings so that I can weave, but I don't want them loose. So just check your strings. So we're wrapping the string all the way around the board. You should have the same thing on both sides. Check real quick on your board over. Make sure you have strings on both sides of your board. Make sure not to skip any of the teeth. So I'm going in the big teeth that were already there, and then I'm going in the small teeth that I cut also. You'll probably need to leave the string attached to the big ball of yarn before you cut, just so, because it's a lot of string, and you might not cut enough. So if somebody's waiting on it, just go ahead and use it, and then when you're finished, you can give it to them. Now to the top. Okay, and here's where I need to tape it close to where you stopped, because we don't want to go all the way down and think that it's something we're supposed to weave into. So I'm going to cut it off, give myself a little bit of tail, give this to somebody else, and put your tape on. You might have to scoot over your other strings to get that tape to stay. Make sure it's sticking to the board. Okay, now you have your warp, strings that go up and down like a harp, and you're ready to weave your weft. For that, you're going to need a piece of yarn, and I like to take one end and pull, and my arms are stretched as far as they can stretch, and then make a cut. You don't want to have too much yarn. It kind of gets in the way. It might get knotted up or a mess. So just stretch out your arms as far as you can, cut a piece of yarn off, and you're ready to go. The next thing you need is a needle. Take the string and put it through the end of the needle, and make sure you tie this in a knot. I like to tie it in 2 knots so it doesn't fall off. So 1 knot, just a basic knot around your finger, pull the loop off and put the tail through the loop. Okay, one end is tied and the other end is loose. So we need to make sure that this is also, well, we don't have to attach it. Let me show you what I'm going to do. Here we go. We're going to start weaving. Nothing's attached on the other end. I just have my string attached to my needle. And I'm going to start by weaving under. I like to start with under just because that's what's comfortable with me. If you like to start with over, do that. I'm going to start with under. So I go under the first string, and I have to go over the next string. Watch my needle as it goes under and over. Every other warp string is being picked up by my needle. You can stop and check. This one's up, that one's down, up, down, or you can say under, over, under, over, under, over. Make sure you continue to use the same pattern. This is where most people mess up on their weavings, is they might skip. See how I skipped 2 accident? Just back up. you need to pick it up with your finger to weave underneath. That's why we didn't want to get it too tight. Okay, so now I can check before I pull it through. I've got every other string picked up. I'm ready to pull this through until I find the end of my yarn. I don't want to pull it all the way through, but I am going to leave just a little bit of a tail. I'm going to pull these strings down the bottom, and then I'm going to be ready to flip it over and turn and go on to the side. So once you hit this spot, I want you to turn it over, and you're starting again with the same pattern. Start under if you started under, start over if you started over. The way you can check is turn around and see part. So we're going to go under, over, under, over, under, over. You're going to continue to weave and make sure you weave all the way around the board until you run out of string. When you run out of string, you're ready to tie a new string to your old string and continue weaving. I told you all something wrong. So erase what I just said. Go back. The problem is, I told you to start with the same that you started, but we should have checked what you just did on the last one. This is an under weaving. It goes under the white string. So if I also an under on one, they're just going to fall out. So I need you to switch and go over on this one here. So I'm going to pull this back out. What's cool about weaving is that you can make a mistake, and most times you can fix it on your own because all you have to do is pull the string out. Make sure the needle follows the yarn. Okay, again, we're checking the first side that you did, and it's the last one. Okay, so I've got my tail over here. This is where I started. This is where I ended. I'm checking to see what this one is to know what the next one will be. So this is under white. Next string has to go over white. I'm going over this first one and then under the second one. Good thing we caught that because the rest of ours could have, that side would have fallen apart. So make sure that yours is correct by checking what you did on the first side and doing the opposite on the second side. So we're going to pull that string all the way through. Careful not to let it get caught in the teeth because that will mess up your pouch. And then we need to beat it, pull it down. You can do that by using the needle. Just push it down, or your fingers. Okay, so again, this one is an under, so when I flip it over, I know I need to go over, which is also opposite from this one right below it. So now I'm ready to do the opposite of what I see here. I need to go over and then under. This part also tricks a lot of people. If you do the opposite of what the yarn is before you, it will lock together and it will be a weaving. If you do the same as what you see before, there's nothing to lock it there. You're just kind of doing the same thing over and over again, and it's going to fall out when you take this weaving apart. So make sure that you are doing the opposite. It's always important to do the opposite of what you just did. Okay, so here's where I want to beat it. I definitely want to make sure I pull it down, make it touch the one before, get it nice and tight, and then pull again just to give it a gentle tug, make sure everything's done tight. This part takes a little while to beat it, but it will help your weaving be better in the end. We're going to turn it over, and again we're doing the opposite we saw here, starting with under because that one is over. Under, over, under, over. Okay, so as you can tell, this project might take us a little while, but once you get the hang of the weaving, you're going to be ready to go. It's going to be a quick process once you get a hang of checking and to see which is next. Pull it down, make it a little tighter, and keep going.